Humanity had always believed they were alone in their corner of the universe, living quietly inside a strange cosmic region that most civilizations never discovered. This region, a hidden star cluster wrapped inside a natural space distortion, acted like a blanket around their entire existence. From inside, humans could see the stars and galaxies beyond. But from the outside, any empire or alien civilization scanning the area saw absolutely nothing. Their scanners read empty space. No planets, no signals, no signs of life. Humanity existed, but to the galaxy, they existed nowhere. For thousands of years, this cosmic shield kept every danger away. The great empires fought brutal wars, expanded their regions, claimed territories, and searched for new civilizations to conquer or ally with. But none of them ever found the hidden star cluster where humans evolved, built cities, created science, and eventually reached the stars. Humans developed slowly compared to some species, yet their creativity and problem-solving made them different. They were unpredictable, emotional, imaginative, and capable of building incredible technology when pushed. Over centuries, humans mastered space travel, colonized nearby planets, and created a peaceful network of worlds inside their hidden region. They had no idea how dangerous the galaxy outside truly was. Their history books never mentioned alien empires, interstellar wars, or galaxy-wide politics. To them, the universe was simply a quiet, endless frontier waiting for exploration. They believed there must be life out there, but because of the cosmic anomaly, they never picked up any signals from beyond. Their scientists tried for decades to understand why no alien races ever contacted them, but none of their theories came close to the truth. At the same time, far beyond the invisible border of their star cluster, a mighty galactic empire ruled a huge region of space. This empire had billions of citizens, war fleets stretching across hundreds of systems, and a history full of conquests. They were known as the most powerful force in their part of the galaxy, feared by smaller nations and respected by rivals. For so long, they believed they knew every major civilization. They mapped the stars carefully, scanned for new life constantly, and documented every possible threat. And in all their records, the space around the humans' hidden region was nothing but a dead zone. To the empire, that area had no planets, no minerals, no strategic value, just a blank patch on the star map. They never realized that billions of humans lived inside that blankness. But the universe is unpredictable. Even the strongest natural shield can weaken. And one year, something changed inside the cosmic anomaly. Human scientists detected a crack in the distortion. It was small and temporary, like a hole opening for a few seconds, and then closing again. But during those few seconds, something unimaginable happened. A fragment of human communication leaked through the cosmic curtain. It was nothing major, only a harmless data pulse from a deep space research station. Yet outside the anomaly, the Empire's long-range scanners caught it. Their machines recorded a faint, strange signal coming from a place where nothing was supposed to exist. Empire analysts grew confused. They ran it again, and again, and again. The signal didn't match any known civilization. It didn't sound like a natural phenomenon either. It was artificial, structured, and undeniably intelligent. But how could it come from an empty sector? Had someone been hiding from them? Was it a trap? Was it a lost outpost of an enemy nation? Their confusion quickly turned into suspicion. Within days, the Empire sent small automated probes to investigate. The probes slipped toward the distortion, scanning for anything unusual. Humanity, however, detected them immediately. Their defense networks were highly advanced, built to protect a peaceful region from unknown dangers. When the probes approached the distortion, they were captured by human automated systems before they could send clear information back to the Empire. Even though humans had not yet confirmed the visitor's origin, they already understood one thing: someone out there had found them, inside human government halls. Panic spread like wildfire. For the first time in their history, humans knew they were no longer hidden. Leaders and scientists held emergency meetings, analyzing the probe's technology. It was superior to anything humans had ever seen. The materials were stronger, the power system was efficient, and the scanning equipment was centuries ahead. If this empire was hostile, humanity's survival was at risk. Meanwhile, the Empire grew more suspicious. Their probes vanished without explanation. Their readings showed nothing at the location where the signal originally came from. It seemed impossible something was there, yet also not there. Their commanders grew impatient. The Empire did not tolerate mysteries. If something hid from them, they wanted to know why. Suspicion soon turned into fear. What if a powerful new civilization was trying to sneak into their territory? More probes were sent. Some were destroyed by the distortion field around the human region. Others reached close but sent back scrambled images. Some showed blurred shapes, suggesting planets or stations. Other images showed bright flashes, as if weapons or shields activated inside the anomaly. At this point, the Empire Council assumed the worst. An unknown civilization with high technology was hiding deliberately and interfering with Imperial scanners. Their logic was simple: if someone hid this well, they must be dangerous. Inside human territory, the discovery caused a cultural shock. For generations, humans believed they were alone. Now they realized the universe was crowded, chaotic, and possibly violent. Their peaceful way of life might not survive first contact with an empire known for aggression. But humans were not weak. They had unique technology built under complete isolation. Without influence from other civilizations, their science grew in strange directions. They developed breakthrough weapons, advanced AI systems, and experimental drives because no intergalactic rules existed to limit them. Still, they didn't want war. They only wanted to understand who these outsiders were and what they wanted. But the Empire already made its decision. To them, humanity's silence meant defiance. Their disappearance of probes meant hostility. Their inability to detect human planets meant humans had some kind of cloaking technology, and no small civilization should ever be allowed to challenge the Empire's dominance. Empire commanders believed they were facing a secret enemy nation preparing to strike. They couldn't allow that, so they prepared a reconnaissance fleet larger than anything humans had ever seen, and headed toward the anomaly. The humans saw the fleet coming long before it arrived. Massive ships, energy signatures beyond anything seen before, weapons capable of wiping out entire planets. The scale of the approaching force shocked even the bravest human officers. Their peaceful star network had never experienced a threat like this, and yet, in every command center, one strange calm feeling spread: humans would defend themselves, whatever it took, even if the Empire thought they lived nowhere, even if they had never been recognized by the galaxy, even if they were the hidden civilization that no one expected to exist. The moment the Empire fleet entered the outer edge of the anomaly, humanity's destiny changed forever. The galaxy had finally discovered them, and the story of how they responded would become the event that reshaped everything. The news that an unknown fleet was approaching spread across human space like lightning. Every colony, research station, and command center stopped their normal routine. For centuries, humans had lived peacefully behind their invisible cosmic shield. But now a powerful outside force was coming straight toward them. No one knew if they were friendly or hostile, but the size of the ships suggested one thing: this was not a peaceful visit. Something big had begun. Inside the human High Council chamber, tension filled the air. The leaders stared at holograms showing the incoming fleet, each ship larger and more advanced than anything humans had ever encountered. Scientists calculated energy outputs from the fleet's engines and weapons, and the numbers were terrifying. If the visitors attacked, a single blast from one of their dreadnoughts could probably destroy a human city. The shock was heavy. For generations, humans had seen themselves as advanced. But compared to this empire, they suddenly felt like newcomers. The first question everyone asked was simple: what do they want? But no one had the answer. The empire had sent no message, no signal, no greeting. They were silent as they approached, like a predator investigating unfamiliar prey. Humans sent peaceful signals toward the fleet, broadcasting friendly messages in dozens of languages and frequencies. They introduced themselves, explained they meant no harm, and invited communication. But the fleet did not respond. It was as if they ignored the messages entirely, or worse, heard them and didn't care. Humanity had no idea that the Empire misinterpreted the silence differently. The Empire believed humans were refusing to respond. In their culture, ignoring an Imperial fleet was a grave insult, the behavior of an enemy trying to hide something. Their commanders grew more suspicious with every passing hour. They thought humans were preparing an ambush inside the anomaly. Meanwhile, human scientists worked desperately to understand the Empire's technology. They studied the captured probes and scanned the approaching ships from a distance. They discovered that the Empire relied heavily on brute strength massive weapons, heavy armor, and powerful engines. But while their ships were strong, their technology was not as flexible as humanity's. Humans excelled at innovation, quick adaptation, and unpredictable engineering solutions. In other words, humans were problems, while the Empire was a machine built for domination. As the fleet drew closer, human military command activated the Continental Defense Network, a system designed for extreme emergencies. Thousands of automated drones, defense satellites, and deep space scanners formed a protective web around human territory. The network monitored every movement the Empire made, every ship's heat signature, every change in formation, every energy fluctuation. It all streamed into command centers in real time. But even with all this preparation, no one knew how a real conflict might unfold. Human leaders still hoped diplomacy was possible. Perhaps the fleet only wanted to explore or observe. Maybe they would open communication once closer. Many humans preferred peace. They did not want their first encounter with an alien civilization to end in disaster. Yet the more the fleet advanced, the more obvious it became that they were preparing for something else. Human scanners detected the Empire's ships shifting into battle-ready formations. Energy cores were charging, shields activating, and weapons systems warming. This was not a peaceful approach, it was a military move. Inside human command centers, fear turned into determination. Humanity had faced internal crises before: wars, diseases, environmental collapse, but they had never faced an external enemy with this level of power. Still, humans had one thing the Empire did not: unity. People across every colony, station, and outpost stood together. They didn't argue about politics or past conflicts. They understood one truth clearly: survival depended on cooperation. Engineers worked non-stop to reinforce defenses. Soldiers prepared ships for possible combat. Scientists studied ways to disrupt the Empire's sensors using the anomaly's natural distortion. Even civilians contributed by volunteering in support roles, running simulations, gathering supplies, and supporting communication lines. It felt like the entire human race suddenly woke up, realizing that their peaceful existence had been a fragile illusion. Meanwhile, on the Empire's side, confusion continued. Their sensors still couldn't map the human star cluster properly. They saw flashes of energy, glimpses of structures, and faint signals, nothing clear. To them, it seemed like a sophisticated cloaking field was hiding an entire civilization. The Empire had seen such tactics before from enemy nations trying to evade capture, so they assumed humans were intentionally hiding. They failed to realize that the cosmic anomaly was natural and that humans were trying to communicate honestly. As the fleet reached the border of the anomaly, the Empire's high command issued strict orders: proceed with extreme caution. Their strategy was to force whatever hidden civilization existed inside the anomaly to reveal itself. Scouts and smaller warships moved ahead of the main fleet, scanning and probing the edge of human space. Their readings were distorted and unclear, causing even more frustration when their probes were lost. The Empire assumed humans destroyed them. When energy spikes appeared, they assumed humans were charging weapons. And when their communication attempts failed due to distortion, they assumed humans were refusing peace. Every misunderstanding pushed them closer to conflict. Humans watched all of this, feeling powerless to fix the confusion. Their attempts to speak were lost in the interference between their region and the outside world. So human leaders decided to prepare for the worst. They recalled exploration ships, evacuated outer stations, and moved civilian populations deeper inside safe zones. Military fleets gathered near strategic points, ready to intercept any aggressive move. Among the human fleets was an elite division known for experimental technology. Their ships were smaller but faster and equipped with advanced AI. These AI systems predicted enemy movements before they occurred, creating strategies in milliseconds. This division became the secret backbone of human defense, a force capable of acting even if communication systems collapsed. Still, humans did not strike first. They waited, hoping for a sign of peace. The tension was unbearable. Every second felt like the world was holding its breath. Human commanders monitored every detail of the Empire ships: how they moved, how they adjusted formations, how their energy signatures changed. They noticed a pattern. The Empire was preparing for intimidation. Their ships angled in such a way that they formed a wall of power, a show of dominance meant to frighten smaller civilizations. If this fleet had encountered any other weak nation, the Empire's tactic would have worked. But humans were not weak. They were simply unknown. As hours passed, the Empire grew irritated by the lack of response. They believed humans were deliberately disrespecting them. So the Empire made a decision that changed everything. They prepared a warning, strike an intentional, non-lethal shot aimed at empty space to scare the hidden civilization into revealing itself. They did not know humans were watching the energy build up from miles away. Realizing what was about to happen, human leaders faced a terrible choice. Should they allow the warning strike to hit the edge of their territory and risk accidental damage? Or should they defend themselves and risk starting a war? The debate was intense, emotional, and chaotic. Some argued they should show their strength immediately. Others insisted peace must be attempted at all costs. The pressure on the leadership was enormous, but deep down, the truth was clear. Humans couldn't rely on guesswork anymore. The Empire's misunderstanding was growing too dangerous. Something decisive had to be done. Humanity needed to protect itself while avoiding a war that could wipe them out. In the final moments before the Empire fired the warning shot, human defense systems activated. Drones moved into formation, shields powered up. AI systems locked onto enemy across human space. Everyone felt at the moment tension transformed into action. Fear became readiness. The rising challenge had reached its peak. Both sides believed the other was preparing hostility, and with every misunderstanding, the chance of peace grew smaller. Humans stood together, waiting for the Empire's next move, knowing that whatever happened next would shape the destiny of entire civilizations. The moment finally arrived. The Empire's massive armada, the most formidable fleet in the known galaxy, edged into the outer perimeter of the anomaly. Ships stretched across hundreds of kilometers, their dark metallic hulls gleaming faintly against the void. Engines burning with an intensity that could be felt even across light. Humanity watched in awe and fear, knowing that these ships carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets. The Armada was built for domination, for crushing resistance, for making worlds bend to imperial will. Every dreadnought, every carrier, every missile launcher was designed with one goal: absolute power. But no one on the Empire's side had any idea what lay waiting for them beyond the anomaly. From humanity's perspective, it was like watching a storm approach slowly but with unimaginable scale. The anomaly, usually calm and mysterious, trembled slightly as the Armada's gravity fields interacted with its natural distortions. Sensors picked up unusual energy fluctuations, and human scientists realized that the Empire's ships were being affected by the very same phenomenon that had kept humans hidden for centuries. For the first time, the cosmic shield itself seemed to react, creating pockets where ships would temporarily vanish from scanners or appear in unexpected positions. It was not something humans controlled entirely, but it worked to their advantage. The Empire could not understand why their scanners flickered or why signals kept failing. To them, it was madness. Yet for humans, it was a chance of fleeting advantage they could exploit. The first few skirmishes were small but revealing. The Empire tested the perimeter with probe ships and scout vessels, sending them ahead to measure the anomaly's defenses. Every probe was intercepted by automated defense systems, sometimes destroyed, sometimes disabled, and returned to human command centers for analysis. Humans studied each ship's weapon patterns, propulsion, and scanning methods. They were amazed by the sheer firepower of even the smallest scouts, but they were even more confident in their ability to respond. For decades, humans had built their defense networks with the assumption that an unknown enemy might arrive, and now all their preparations were coming to life. The Empire, convinced that humans were hiding something, assumed these interceptions were deliberate acts of aggression. In their eyes, the anomaly was no longer a blank sector, it was a battlefield. Orders were issued to the main armada to tighten formations and prepare for potential combat. Every ship powered up weapons, activated shields, and aligned energy fields. Communications crackled constantly with messages from command ships to fleet captains, every message demanding precision and vigilance. They were confident that even if humans had some strange technology, brute strength would win. They had crushed countless civilizations before, and they did not expect this to be any different. Then the humans acted, not in haste, not recklessly, but in a perfectly calculated strike. They activated their elite divisions first, sending squadrons of ships equipped with advanced AI into positions that the Empire would never expect. These ships moved with precision, silently tracking the Empire's every movement. Humans did not fire immediately. Instead, they observed, analyzed, and waited for the perfect moment to strike. Even though the Empire had thousands of vessels, their tactics were predictable, and humans had spent hours studying the slight patterns in their formations, rotations, and energy use. It was like a game of chess played across light years, with the stakes being survival itself. When the first warning shots came, the Empire did not understand the scale of what was happening. Humans did not simply react, they anticipated. Every missile fired by the Empire was neutralized by countermeasures before it could reach its target. Energy beams were redirected by sophisticated shields, and gravity fields warped the trajectory of heavy projectiles. Humans had turned their natural anomaly into a weapon, creating zones where enemy attacks were deflected or delayed. The Empire realized too late that their largest weapons, designed to obliterate planets, were ineffective against a civilization they had assumed was hiding nowhere. Panic began to spread. Fleet captains looked to their command ships, unsure if they were under attack from conventional weapons, or something entirely new, something beyond comprehension. The critical moment came when human dimensional drives were deployed. The Empire had never seen such technology. Human ships began moving in ways that seemed impossibly appearing in one location, disappearing, and reappearing somewhere else entirely. The fleet's AI predicted enemy movement and adjusted ship positions in milliseconds, creating strikes that the Empire could not anticipate or counter. Large capital ships were disabled without a single human casualty. Engines exploded silently, weapon systems jammed, and communication arrays failed. To the Empire, it was chaos and impossible nightmare in which all their strategies and experience seemed useless. Their confidence shattered as they realized they were no longer controlling the battlefield. Humanity, long assumed to exist nowhere, was suddenly everywhere at once. Empire commanders tried to adapt. They changed formations, concentrated firepower, and called for retreat or regrouping. But human tactics were always one step ahead. They studied the Empire's adjustments in real time, predicting even the unspoken intentions of fleet captains. When the Empire concentrated fire on one sector, humans exploited the opening elsewhere. When they pulled back, humans pressed the advantage, cutting off escape routes with precise gravity wells and energy barriers. Every movement of the Empire fleet became a trap carefully designed to neutralize their advantage. Humans used the terrain of the anomaly, the natural distortions of space, and advanced AI-driven strategy to turn overwhelming firepower into an ineffective display of frustration. The battle escalated quickly. What began as a tentative clash at the perimeter became a full-scale engagement. Hundreds of Empire ships were disabled or destroyed in rapid succession. Human strategy ensured no lives were lost on their side. Even the Empire's best commanders could not anticipate the level of coordination and precision that humanity displayed. Their massive weapons, meant to intimidate and destroy, often destroyed themselves or malfunctioned under the unique physics created by the anomaly. Every Empire maneuver was met with a human countermeasure designed not only to defend but to dismantle system. The Empire was learning the hard way that conventional warfare logic did not apply here. Amid the chaos, human ships communicated seamlessly through encrypted channels, AI-supported commands, and real-time predictive algorithms. Every human fleet acted as if it were a single entity, perfectly synchronized across thousands of kilometers of space. Even when individual ships faced overwhelming odds, they executed maneuvers that seemed suicidal but were carefully calculated to lure Empire vessels into traps. The Empire had never faced an enemy that could use invisibility, speed, and strategy in such combination. What should have been overwhelming numerical superiority for them turned into a liability, as each capital ship became a target in an elaborate net of human tactics. The psychological impact on the Empire was enormous. Commanders, once proud and confident, began doubting their own decisions. Communication chains broke down as panic spread. The very soldiers trained for obedience and discipline were confused by the unpredictability of the human fleet. Rumors spread across the Empire Armada that the enemy must possess powers beyond normal technology. Some officers whispered that humanity might not be a normal civilization at all, that perhaps some form of unknown energy intelligence was at work. Their confidence eroded, and fear became their main motivator. In the middle of the battle, a critical event defined the turning point. The Empire attempted to retreat, believing they had miscalculated the situation, but humans anticipated this. Using advanced gravity manipulation and dimensional drives, human fleets created a blockade that prevented retreat. The Empire realized that their only option to regroup outside the anomaly was blocked. Panic turned into desperation. Ships tried to jump to hyperspace but were pulled back by invisible forces. Missiles and energy beams disabled engines faster than they could react. The Empire fleet, built to dominate and conquer, was now trapped in a web of human ingenuity and alien physics. Completely vulnerable, by the end of the first major engagement, the Empire had lost hundreds of ships. Their weapons were largely ineffective. Their strategies failed at every turn. Human forces had accomplished what no one had expected. They had turned an impossible situation facing an overwhelmingly superior armada into a decisive victory, all without casualties. The critical moment had passed, and the Empire was stunned. They could not understand how a civilization they assumed existed nowhere could have orchestrated such a perfect defense and counterattack. Their arrogance, based on centuries of dominance, was shattered in hours. For humanity, the battle was both terrifying and exhilarating. They had tested their defenses, applied everything they had learned, and survived a confrontation that could have ended their existence. Yet despite the destruction inflicted on the Empire, humans did not celebrate as conquerors. They understood the stakes. The galaxy beyond the anomaly was dangerous, and the Empire they had just defeated could return in even greater force. Humanity realized that while this critical moment had shown their strength, it had also revealed their presence to the wider universe. They could no longer remain hidden. The success came with a price. They were now part of galactic history, and the consequences of their victory were only beginning. The battle that had begun at the edge of the anomaly reached its turning point as humans fully unleashed their coordinated strategy. Every movement of the Empire Armada had already been anticipated, and humanity's elite divisions were ready to strike with precision. What the Empire did not realize was that humans had been studying not just the technology but the patterns, the psychology, and the decision-making habits of their commanders. It was as if every move the Empire made was being predicted before it happened, and humans used this insight to create openings in the Armada's formation that led to catastrophic consequences for the invaders. At first, the humans allowed smaller engagements to proceed, using them as tests to identify weaknesses in the Empire's fleet. Drones intercepted communications, monitoring the chain of command, while small squadrons probed gaps in the fleet's formation. These were not reckless attacks. They were carefully calculated moves designed to bait the Empire into overextending themselves. Every time a capital ship turned to fire, a human squadron would slip past undetected and disable support ships, weapons systems, or engines. To the Empire, it looked like chaos, but in reality, it was a meticulously choreographed plan. Then came the main assault. Human fleets moved in perfect synchronization, taking advantage of the natural distortions of the anomaly to create tactical advantages. The Empire's powerful weapons, designed to obliterate planets, were rendered almost useless in this strange space. Missiles misfired, energy beams refracted unpredictably, and shields overloaded in moments. It was as though the universe itself had conspired with humans to level the playing field. Ships that had been confident and arrogant moments earlier were suddenly confused, struggling to respond to an enemy that appeared everywhere at once. The humans targeted the command structure of the Empire first. Their AI systems identified the command ships and calculated the most effective angles of attack. Gravity manipulation and energy redirection technology were used to disable engines without harming lives on board. Large cruisers and carriers were trapped in energy fields, unable to move, while smaller human ships struck with pinpoint accuracy, neutralizing weapons and cutting off communications. The Empire commanders were stunned. Their fleet, the largest and most advanced in the galaxy, was being dismantled systematically by a civilization they had assumed did not even exist. As the Empire tried to adapt, humans shifted tactics seamlessly. While one section of the fleet engaged in direct confrontation, another moved to intercept escape routes. Human ships slipped between dimensions, appearing unexpectedly behind enemy formations, striking with speed and precision that the Empire could not counter. Every retreat attempt was blocked, every maneuver predicted. It was not just a battle of firepower, it was a battle of intelligence, strategy, and adaptation, and humans were far ahead. The Empire's confidence eroded with every passing minute, replaced by fear, confusion, and a desperate hope for survival. The critical aspect of the human strategy was coordination. Ships that were hundreds of kilometers apart acted as one, controlled by AI systems that could process information faster than any organic mind. Predictions were made instantaneously, and human fleets adapted to the Empire's every move in real time. Even when an Empire ship fired a massive energy cannon, it was anticipated and countered before it could reach its target. Humans had turned the very strengths of the Empire into weaknesses, using their knowledge, speed, and creativity to turn the tide completely. As the battle escalated, the Empire attempted to concentrate firepower on the largest human vessels, believing that destroying them would demoralize the enemy. Humans had anticipated this as well. Smaller, faster ships acted as decoys, drawing attention while the main human fleet struck critical points. The result was devastating. Key Empire ships were disabled or destroyed while minimal human forces faced any threat. Within hours, the Empire Armada was crippled, unable to maintain cohesion, and losing control over the battlefield entirely. What had been a show of force by the Empire became a display of vulnerability, exposing the limits of their dominance. One of the most astonishing aspects of the battle was humanity's use of dimensional drives. Entire squadrons appeared and disappeared across the battlefield, bypassing traditional physical limitations and appearing in locations the Empire could not predict. This tactic allowed humans to strike at critical targets while remaining untouchable. The Empire tried to respond with massive energy fields to trap ships, but the humans' dimensional technology was faster and more flexible. Every attempt by the Empire to contain the human fleet failed, further demoralizing their crews and commanders. Meanwhile, the anomaly itself played a vital role in the resolution. Humans had spent decades studying its properties, understanding how gravitational distortions and energy fluctuations could be used as tactical advantages. When the Empire fleet entered deeper, they found themselves trapped in a complex environment that disrupted weapon systems and made navigation unpredictable. What should have been a straightforward engagement became chaotic for the Empire, while humans used the same environment with complete mastery. The battlefield itself had become a weapon in human hands. At the height of the conflict, a key Empire dreadnought attempted to escape, believing that retreat was the only option. Human forces had predicted this and deployed a containment field using both gravity manipulation and energy barriers. The ship was immobilized, its engines jammed, and weapons rendered useless. Human boarding drones moved in not to kill, but to secure control over the vessel. This act demonstrated another element of humanity's strategy: precision, control, and minimal loss of life. They were not seeking mass destruction. They were seeking victory with intelligence and efficiency. By the time the battle reached its conclusion, the Empire Armada had been effectively neutralized. Hundreds of ships were disabled or destroyed, communications were severed, and the fleet was in disarray. The human fleet had achieved what no one thought possible: complete control of the engagement, the destruction of the Empire's most powerful armada, and all without suffering a single human casualty. It was a demonstration of strategy, technology, and understanding, proving that even an empire built on fear and power could be outmaneuvered by intelligence, coordination, and adaptability. The immediate aftermath on the battlefield was profound. Empire commanders, once confident and arrogant, were now forced to confront the limits of their assumptions. They had underestimated an entire civilization hidden in plain sight, and the consequences had been catastrophic. Captured ships were secured, and surviving personnel were treated humanely, demonstrating that humanity's victory was not born of vengeance, but of careful planning and disciplined execution. Even in victory, humans showed restraint, a reflection of their values and their understanding of the responsibilities that came with such power. For humanity, the resolution was both triumphant and sobering. They had proven their capability, defended their home, and demonstrated their mastery over one of the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. Yet the battle had also revealed their presence to the universe. No longer could they remain hidden behind the anomaly. Their technology, tactics, and intelligence had been observed, and the wider galaxy would soon know that humans were no longer a civilization that existed nowhere. They had become a force to be reckoned with, and their future would be shaped by this confrontation. Despite the destruction inflicted on the Empire, humans did not celebrate recklessly. The victory was carefully measured, both tactical and moral. They understood the potential consequences of escalating the conflict further. The Empire, though defeated, remained a vast and resourceful entity. Humanity knew that diplomacy, strategy, and careful planning would be necessary to manage what came next. The resolution of the battle marked not only the end, of the immediate threat, but also the beginning of a new era in which humans would be recognized, feared, and respected across the stars. In every command center, scientists and military leaders reviewed the outcome, analyzing what worked and what could be improved. Lessons were learned about both strategy and the unpredictability of contact with alien forces. Engineers examined ships, drones, and AI systems, refining technology for the challenges that would surely follow. Civilians celebrated quietly, knowing that their survival had depended on the brilliance and courage of a relatively small but highly skilled human fleet. Across the hidden star cluster, humanity reflected on the fact that the universe was larger, stranger, and more dangerous than they had ever imagined, and that their moment of revelation had arrived sooner than expected. The resolution of the battle demonstrated several fundamental truths: that intelligence and adaptability could overcome brute strength, that preparation and coordination were key to survival, and that even the most powerful adversaries could be defeated when strategy was executed perfectly. For humans, it was not just a victory in battle. It was a validation of their existence, their ingenuity, and their ability to thrive in a galaxy that had long assumed they did not exist. They had defended themselves not only from destruction but from obscurity, stepping out of the shadows and proving that even those who existed nowhere could reshape the course of history. The battle was over, and humanity had emerged victorious, but the victory brought new challenges and questions that no one had anticipated. For centuries, humans had lived in isolation, hidden in their star cluster behind the anomaly that protected them from the galaxy's eyes. Their lives had been peaceful, their growth steady but unseen. Now, the universe knew they existed, and that knowledge changed everything. Humans could no longer remain invisible. Their actions during the battle had sent a clear signal to anyone watching. They were strong, clever, and capable of defending themselves against even the most powerful empires. The question now was how to manage the consequences of that revelation. Across human colonies, celebrations were mixed with anxiety. People cheered for their defenders and engineers, applauded the bravery and precision of the fleets, and recognized the technological achievements that had made victory possible. Yet, beneath the joy, there was unease. Humanity had faced the Empire Armada and survived, but the Empire was still vast. Its resources were enormous, and it could rebuild its fleet. The humans knew that the wider galaxy might not understand their intentions and could interpret their actions as aggression. The same technology and strategy that had saved them could also make them a target. In a single day, humans went from being unseen to being known as a civilization that could challenge an empire. The universe had awakened to their presence, and with that awakening came both opportunity and danger. Council meetings were convened across the human worlds to assess the situation. Military leaders, scientists, and diplomats came together to discuss the best course of action. The first challenge was internal: how to maintain unity and morale while preparing for what might come next. There were differing opinions. Some argued for complete secrecy, suggesting that humans should retreat further into the anomaly and avoid contact with the galaxy. Others advocated for outreach, proposing that they communicate their peaceful intentions to prevent misunderstandings. Yet everyone agreed on one point: the Empire Armada had been defeated, and humanity had shown its capability, but this was only the beginning. The battle was won, but the war of perception and diplomacy had just begun. The captured Empire ships became a focus of human attention. Engineers and scientists examined them meticulously, learning about alien technologies and strategies. Weapons, propulsion systems, energy grids, and artificial intelligence were studied in detail, and humanity's own systems were improved as a result. Ships that had once been enemy vessels were now classrooms, laboratories, and testbeds for innovation. For humans, the spoils of victory were not only tactical but intellectual. They gained knowledge that could strengthen their fleets, protect their colonies, and prepare them for future encounters. The Empire had assumed that destroying human fleets would guarantee dominance, but in reality, every ship they had sent became a tool for humanity's growth. The Empire personnel who survived the battle were treated with care. Humanity showed restraint and a surprising sense of morality. Instead of exacting revenge or capturing soldiers for punishment, they were given medical attention, safe quarters, and even education about human society. This humane treatment shocked the Empire's surviving officers. They had expected a ruthless enemy, not a civilization that could destroy their fleet and still show mercy. Many of them began to question their assumptions about humans. For the first time, they saw a civilization that was not only technologically advanced but morally disciplined and strategically brilliant. This moment of reflection would influence their reports back to the Empire and alter how humanity was perceived across the galaxy. For civilians, the aftermath was also profound. People who had never seen the fleets in action now understood the stakes of the battle. Families discussed the events, children learned about the courage of their defenders, and entire communities reflected on what it meant to exist in a galaxy that now knew they were there. Humans had survived because of unity, preparation, and intelligence. They had learned the power of foresight, of anticipating threats, and of acting decisively when necessary. Even ordinary citizens felt that their lives had changed. The universe beyond the anomaly was no longer a distant mystery. It was real, tangible, and filled with both risk and possibility. The psychological impact of victory was deep. Soldiers, commanders, engineers, and civilians alike grappled with what it meant to be known to the galaxy. Humans had long imagined the universe as vast and empty beyond their cluster. But now they knew that civilizations existed that could challenge them. The realization that they were capable of not just surviving but winning against one of the most powerful fleets ever assembled gave humanity a new sense of confidence. Yet that confidence was tempered by the awareness that power alone was not enough. Intelligence, strategy, restraint, and ethical judgment were equally crucial. Victory was not just about destroying an enemy. It was about surviving wisely and ensuring that future interactions with other civilizations were managed carefully. Diplomatic considerations began to take center stage. Humanity now faced a universe that might respond to their existence with curiosity, fear, or aggression. Some neighboring civilizations could see humans as a threat because of the defeat of the Empire Armada, while others might be drawn to alliances, seeking to learn from their technology and strategy. Human leaders recognized that their next steps would determine the tone of future encounters. They needed to balance strength with diplomacy, signaling that they were capable of defending themselves but not seeking unnecessary conflict. Every decision, from communications to fleet positioning, would send a message to the wider galaxy. The Empire itself underwent a period of reflection. Commanders who survived returned to report on the battle, describing in detail the unpredictability, intelligence, and coordination of the human forces. The Empire, which had long prided itself on absolute power, was forced to reconsider its assumptions. For generations, they had treated the galaxy as theirs to map, control, and dominate. Now they realized that a civilization they had assumed did not exist had not only survived but defeated their strongest fleet. The reports sent shockwaves through the Empire's hierarchy. Strategies, doctrines, and perceptions of power would have to be revised. Humanity, previously invisible, had now become a factor that could not be ignored. Within human society, the battle inspired technological and cultural growth. Engineers developed new ships based on lessons learned from the Empire's vessels. Scientists studied alien AI to improve their own systems. Military academies incorporated the strategies of the battle into training programs. Artists, writers, and historians documented the events, ensuring that the story of humanity's emergence would be preserved. The battle was no longer just a military event. It had become a defining moment for human civilization, shaping identity, culture, and the understanding of what it meant to exist in a galaxy that now knew they were there. Reflection became a constant part of human life in the aftermath. Citizens and leaders alike asked themselves difficult questions. What responsibilities came with their new visibility? How could they maintain peace while being known as a formidable force? Could they trust that other civilizations would interpret their actions fairly, or would fear drive conflict? These reflections were not just theoretical. They influenced policy, strategy, and even the design of human colonies and fleets. Humanity had survived the impossible, but the universe had not yet revealed all its challenges. The psychological growth of humans was mirrored by their moral development. The battle had proven that they could defeat a superior force, but the restraint they showed treating prisoners humanely, avoiding unnecessary destruction, and protecting civilians was a message to the universe about their values. They had demonstrated that strength could coexist with ethics, that victory did not require cruelty, and that power could be exercised responsibly. This balance became a cornerstone of human identity as they prepared for the inevitable encounters with other civilizations. Humans had not only survived, they had defined themselves as a civilization capable of both brilliance and compassion. As time passed, humans consolidated their position within the anomaly. Defense systems were reinforced, technology improved, and diplomatic strategies developed. Contact with other civilizations remained cautious, but humans were now prepared to engage with the wider galaxy when necessary. They had transitioned from isolation to awareness, from secrecy to cautious recognition. The lessons of the battle remained clear. Knowledge, preparation, unity, and intelligence were the keys to survival and success. Every decision moving forward would be guided by the understanding that they were now participants in a much larger, far more complex universe. In the final reflection, humanity recognized that their existence was no longer a secret. They had emerged from obscurity into the awareness of the galaxy, proving that even those who had existed nowhere could challenge the most powerful forces and survive. The aftermath of the battle was a time of growth, learning, and careful planning. Humans had preserved life, gained knowledge, and secured their home, but they had also taken their first steps into a future filled with new possibilities, responsibilities, and challenges. The galaxy had witnessed the strength, intelligence, and morality of humanity. And in that moment, humans truly understood the meaning of their existence in the vast, unpredictable universe.